Should you buy a car in Mombasa or should you buy a car in Nairobi? I'm going straight to the point. I'm going to break it down in terms of variety. I'm going to talk about price. I'm going to talk about paperwork. I'm going to talk about brokers. I'm going to talk about everything that involves buying a car. Now, straight away to the point. I've had so many people making this video, and some of them, they are biased. Those people in Mombasa, when they make, they are biased. Those people in Nairobi, when they make, they're also biased. But this one is going to be truth. Nothing else but the truth, so help me God. Number one, let's talk about variety. Of course, in Kenya, we have two types of cars. We have the foreign use, zile wa Kenya wanaita mpya, and we have the locally used, those ones that have been used locally. Truth be said, when you come to locally used cars, there are I'm talking now in variety, there are so many locally used cars in Nairobi than they are in Mombasa. Truth be said. Remember, Nairobi and its environments accounts for almost 47% of the total cars in Kenya. Can you imagine? 47% are within Nairobi. So if you are looking for a local used cars, the variety, we have a bigger market of local used cars in Nairobi than they are in Mombasa. I think that's clear. Now let's come to foreign used cars. In Mombasa alone, Mombasa is a small island, and we have more than 340 showrooms. And these showrooms are just for foreign used cars. We have a variety. You move from this point, you go to another one, the same car is there, the same car is there, the same car is there, different prices. So, variety of foreign used cars in Mombasa, there are so many. And remember, it's easy. Right from the port to the showroom. So, we have so many foreign used cars in Mombasa than they are in Nairobi. That is on variety. But let me add something else on variety. What about the European? In Mombasa, there are some cars that come from Italy, from Sweden, from Germany. Some of them, they are not very common in Mombasa, but you will find there are some showroom that specializes in that, like the Volvos, the Mercedes, you know, those those European cars, exotic cars. You might find them more in Nairobi than they are in Mombasa. I think on variety, I've made myself clear. Let us talk about the big elephant in the room, price. And I've heard so many contradicting stories about this, and I'm going to give you facts, okay? The fact that we have so many locally used cars in Nairobi, compared to those ones in Mombasa, you will expect the prices for locally used cars in Nairobi will be better than in Mombasa, and that's a fact. You realize that in Nairobi, when you're going to buy a local used car, you'll find it is cheaper than in Mombasa in many circumstances. But there is a tag on it that I'm going to talk about. So, local used cars, if you look at the prices in Nairobi, they might be cheaper than those ones in Mombasa. Now, let's come to foreign used cars. Foreign used cars, this is as simple as ABCD. It is cheaper to buy a foreign used car in Mombasa than to buy a foreign used car in Nairobi. Why? Because there are expenses involved all the way from the port to the showroom. Here in Mombasa, people just get cars right from the port or from the CFS to the showroom. In Nairobi, you'll have to get a car from the port, do the clearance, everything. You have to ferry the car either through driving or through carriers to Nairobi. It means there's an extra cost there. And whenever you are selling that car, you will have to put that extra cost on that. No wonder prices of foreign used cars in Mombasa are lower compared to foreign used cars in Nairobi. I think that is very clear. But I have to go back. I've talked about variety. I've talked about price. Now, there's something that many people consider buying cars in Mombasa than in Nairobi. This is just one point before I go to the others. In Nairobi, there's no hire purchase. In Nairobi, they do what we call bank financing, sacco financing immediately. And you see, it takes a time like 3 weeks before you get your car. So in Nairobi, say that you are buying a car in cash, you are buying a car on a bank finance or sacco finance. Unlike in Mombasa, when you go to Mombasa, imagine with that little deposit with you, as within 2 hours you've left with your car on the same day. So that's where the difference is. That's why you've had people even in Nairobi, I'm going to Mombasa to buy a car. It's because of the ease in acquiring that car through hire purchase. For example, if you want to buy a Mazda Demio, in Mombasa, all you need is around 650 deposit, even sometimes 600. Within 2 hours, you walk away with your car. The balance you might pay in 2 years or 2.5 years. That is 30 months. In Nairobi, it is bank finance, or it is cash deal or sacco finance. I think that's clear. That's why and you see Kenya sahi, it is hard buying a car in cash. That's why you realize so many people are flocking in Nairobi, in Mombasa, because of higher purchase tag. Okay, now let me speak something else about the brokers. I've heard people saying, oh, brokers are everywhere, either in Nairobi or in Mombasa. Brokers are everywhere. Now, there's a difference in this, because whenever you go to along in Nairobi, along Gong Road and Kiambu Road, you'll find brokers all over there. Some are very genuine, some are cunning. When you come to Mombasa, along Moi Avenue, you will find brokers all over there. Because this is a topic that people have said, oh, when you go to Mombasa, brokers are there, they will confuse you. Bro, this thing applies on both ends, both in Nairobi and both in Mombasa. The only thing you need to be sharp yourself, the one you are going to buy a car. Don't be lured into something that you are doubting. Let me give you an example. We post cars online. Sometimes you get somebody posting a car like this, a Mercedes S-Class, somebody saying this car is going for 3 million. Bro, can you open your eyes? Definitely that is something to entice you, because I've heard somebody, there's another person posted saying in Mombasa, people post cars that is 6 million. Then when you go there, they'll tell you the car has been sold, it's 8 million. Of course, those stories are there. There's nothing for it. Is true, it happens. But it's only, Waswahili wanasema wajinga ni wale waliwao. At this time of era, please don't be fooled easily on that. And before I continue, by the way, this is an S-Class, S500, Mercedes hybrid. If you need it, please give me a call. I'll send you the pictures. It is on offer. Okay, let's continue. So the issue of brokers, it applies on both sides, either in Mombasa, either in Nairobi. And by the way, let me just add something from what I've heard. In Nairobi, if you get a broker will be paid by the showroom, a broker will be paid by the buyer. In Mombasa, rarely will you find the brokers there asking money from the buyer. It is just a tradition. Here, most of the brokers, when you come, they will be paid by the showroom and not the buyer. I've heard that, and it's something that I've also confirmed. So that is about that topic. Something else is about paperwork. Mnajua kuna wakora in Kenya, tuko na wakora. Nairobi wakora wako, Mombasa pia wakora wako when it comes to paperwork za magari. But wakora wa Nairobi ni wale wameenda group of schools. Of course Nairobi people, watu wamejanjaruka than us, than people in Mombasa. Okay, so utapata kwamba whenever you are buying a car, be very careful on the paperwork. You've heard stories, that's why unaona watu wengi wanatoka Nairobi kuja kununua magari Mombasa, simply because of the type of ile ujanja nyingi iko Nairobi. Unasikia huyu ni mtu from Nairobi. So you realize paperwork ya gari, I'm not saying Nairobi at all cars ziko na shida ya paperwork, but be very careful because Nairobi kuna wajanja, na ni wajanja pia wenye wako Mombasa, lakini wale wa Nairobi ni wale wakora, wale wameenda group of schools. So be very careful with the paperwork when you are buying your car in Nairobi. I hope I'm making myself clear on that, right? Okay, and something else as we finish, guys, yeah? In Mombasa, something that I've realized, because I've sold cars both in Nairobi and Mombasa. In Mombasa, most of the cars are sold in showrooms. There is only one street in Mombasa, I don't know, it's called Chui or what. That's where you'll find most of the cars that are on streets. In Mombasa, it's like there is a rule that most of the cars are being sold in the showroom. And you know that's an advantage even to the buyer. So whenever you are buying a car, I always insist, buy a car that is in the showroom. It is easier in terms of paperwork, in terms of follow-up and all those things, okay? But in Nairobi, cars are everywhere. You meet somebody in the most of the cars are written for sale. In the street, you can easily get a car. So that's also a difference. So bottom line, what am I saying? Where should you buy a car? Is it Mombasa or Nairobi? You've heard the whole video. Be the judge yourself. You can decide whether you want to buy in Nairobi or whether you buy in Mombasa. Finally, as you all know, this is Billy Peps Motors, Jamoeni Wama Offer. We try as much as possible to give you the best deals in town. We do hire purchase, we do bank finance, we do cash. You don't ask for commitment fee. And when it comes to hire purchase, just raise between 50 to 60, 50 what? 50% of the value of the car. Come with your ID, come with your KRA, we are good to go. We'll not ask for your KRA pin. We'll not ask for your, what is it called? Bank statement. We'll not ask for guarantors and everything. KRA pin, ID, your deposit, then you are good to go. We have two channels. We have Billy Peps Motors, then we have Billy Peps, the main channel. If you haven't subscribed to both, please subscribe. Also go to Patash Motors, the guy behind the camera, and show some love so that you don't miss any update whenever we post. Till the next one, guys, all I can say is Bella, ciao.